彼氏そうです付き合ってますねえ先輩
やめろよ
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here. Today I'm talking to you about Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. So as we know, throughout the past few years, the bully waifu has been quite popular. I talked about Please Go Home Akutsu-san not too long ago, and of course this one is the biggest one with Miss Nagatoro here, the short tanned waifu with the fangs that just bullies her senpai. And I mainly wanted to read this just to understand how it got so popular. I just kept seeing it all over the place. And of course, that's because of the anime, right? That made it super popular. And I was like, okay, fine. Let's dig in and see what all the hype is about for this series. So let's get into it, man. This is written and drawn by an artist named 774. Interestingly enough, much like most of these newer mangas these days, this is an artist that started on Pixiv or Twitter, what have you. And I found some of his older stuff that he did before doing this manga. And I'll just say, yeah, that's not PG friendly. And this is published in Magazine Pocket. This is a magazine that mainly has side story stuff. So Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest is in here, as well as the spin-off for Rent a Girlfriend is here as well. And this was published in November 2017, currently ongoing with 88 chapters, but I will take note, this is not where the inception of this series started. And like I said, Pixiv artist, and usually what I've seen with a Pixiv mangaka is already are creating their characters or their world way early before they even get it publicized in an official magazine. And if you go on 774's Pixiv, there's not a whole lot there, but when you go back and you actually see the first concept for Miss Nagatoro here, and that was back in 2015. And just to get it out of the way, the main premise is we have our main character who is Hachioji. He is a sophomore in high school in Japan, so he's a second year, and he is in the art club, mainly by himself. No one else is really in there because all the other members are seniors and they're getting ready to graduate and all that stuff. And then one day he has to go to the library to go study, and he discovers that there is a table of delinquent girls, and they're just being loud and rowdy. There's no supervisor there, so that's kind of like their hideout to hang out. And he's there, he's like, I just want to focus on my studies. And because he's a super nervous guy, accidentally drops his bag. And lo and behold, because he's an artist, what else does he like to do? Draw manga. And his manga flies out, all the girls are making fun of it, and they decide like, okay, we've had our fun, let's get out of here. But Nagatoro says, no, I'm going to stick around. Ever since then, she goes and bothers her senpai, as she calls him, because she doesn't want to know his name. And yeah, just really bully him, toy with him, nervous, flustered, all that stuff, just to get a good laugh. It's obvious that these characters will develop feelings for each other, and the rest of the series is tackling that. The only things I knew about this series was it was that type of manga, and I just am not a fan of Nagatoro herself. I think her design is fine for her character, but yeah, that's just the thing. I don't really like her character because there's two sides to bullying the male character. We have it here with Nagatoro where it's just full on bullying and it just doesn't feel good reading it. And then you have something like Akutsu-san where you could really tell it's more playful than anything. At least a good portion of the beginning of this manga, it doesn't feel like that. It takes a while before it's shown that Nagatoro has feelings for her senpai. My problem is she doesn't grow or change as a character. She just stays the same. After going through it, I think that is very intentional because I understood what her character is doing here, what the purpose is. So with the senpai, like I said, he's a bit of a loner. He's by himself most of the time. He just wants to draw, socially awkward, and just really doesn't have a lot of self-motivation. But because of all these constant interactions with Nagatoro and just really putting him on edge, causing him to break out of character occasionally, actually start speaking what he wants to say. Because she's doing that, he's growing as a character. And that's the main reason why she doesn't want to change after she's developed feelings, because she just doesn't want him to be stuck like this. She actually cares for him, so she has to do this and able to push his character to be better. And we see the progression over the chapters, and it's nice. By the time we get to 88, he's a completely different character. Or by the time we get to chapter 88, you see how much he's grown over this whole year. Another thing about Nagatoro that 774 here is doing really smart with is her personality. I find her quite boring. There's really nothing going on that I could see that's engaging, that would make it seem popular other than just the bullying. That's the only thing she has. And there was a point where I was like, man, all of the other side characters are more interesting because they actually have a defining personality. Some of them have better designs, and it's very clear of what those characters are. I think the thing 774 is doing with Nagatoro is having her be like this on purpose. By having her set like this, it really gives us more time to focus on her trying to build up her senpai. And another thing with it too is that we don't get any internal monologues with her like we would do in any other normal series. And the way he counteracts that is with her facial expressions in every single panel whenever something comes up. And usually it would just be her thinking about something, but instead, boom, we're just giving her the facial expressions. That gives us a peek more into what her character kind of is. And yeah, eventually she does start to calm down just a little bit. She's still the same as she is in the beginning for the most part, right? But she starts to break down a little bit out of her shell and show Senpai what type of person she really is towards the back half, of course. But I think by doing that, it does in a sense feel, I want to say it feels more natural, but the fact that she's still doing the constant bullying, it just kind of bothers me. I think, and like I said, I understand that it's to really help her senpai and motivate him, actually change him as a person for the better. I just wish things would be kind of different, which is what we're seeing now. The latest 8-10 chapters, we actually saw her like, you know what? No, now it's time. He's a third year. I got to really help push him now by making my own moves towards him and just go from there. As much as I don't like Nagatoro herself, I'm seeing what 774 is doing in the long run in the bigger scheme of what this story is, and I have to give him props for that. The artwork is nice. We could get some good reactions and stuff. The comical things with the bullying is fun too sometimes, especially when Senpai can come in and retaliate just a little bit, make it a little more fun, get those comical gags that pop in here and there. Aside from the popularity, I think it's okay. Again, the past few chapters have been the best, I think, but at this point, I'm only reading it just to keep an eye on it and actually see what happens in this current arc that's happening, but it doesn't have my full attention. I think other series like Please Go Home Akutsu-san does it just a little bit better, at least from what I want anyways. And yeah, other than that, that's all I really have to say about this series. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you like Nagatoro as a character? We'd love to hear some feedback. You can send us an email, unversepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any other questions or comments, we'll be sure to bring those up on the next episode. And then you can follow us anywhere on social media at unversepodcast, and we'll let you know when those latest episodes drop. Thank you guys, and we will catch you on the next one.